Rebecca here. I don't know if you know this, but I love trying out new things and different ways of organizing my writing notes. Today, I'm going to talk about using Google Docs as a novel, world, or series notebook. If you use Google Docs, I'm sure you've noticed the new layout. When I first saw it, I thought that the layout might be a good way to use, at least as a backup or first version of a series notebook. If you're looking for something to use as a series or world notebook or a backup like myself, sit back and I'll show you a possible layout. If nothing else, you can use it as a starting point and work out what you want to do. I primarily use OneNote for my series notebooks. I like the way you can have subtabs underneath each main series tab and they can be collapsed or expanded as needed. In the new Google Docs, you can do something similar. We'll start off with the main series page. I envision using this for only one series per Google Doc, so I'll indent below each main series tab so the information in each book remains with each book. On the series page, you could put a collage of pictures or drawings that could give a feel for the atmosphere you want to evoke. You could put a series blurb or notes where you want the series to go. If it's a serial, you could note the start point of your character and where you want them to be at the end. Or you could note big events you know at the start that you need to happen and when. It's up to you, and it could be changed for each series or world you create. Let's move on to the next tab, Book 1. On this series page, you could put an image board for the first book in your series, or you could put your working blurb. You could note down your ideas for this book's plot or characters. You could make a list of needed points. Below that, we'll put the first hero or heroine page. It's a sub-tab so that everything is organized below the Book 1 tab. We'll add some description, hair, eyes, abilities if it's a paranormal. If you want, you can add body type, species, if it's an alien. Next, I'll put in some motivators. I usually add some things like what the character likes. This can be food, sports, tech, whatever applies. I also put in their weaknesses or strengths. Weaknesses and strengths help me with plotting, so they're definitely something I make note of. I put in what the character's goal is. This is usually both physical and emotional. I sometimes put the reason that's driving them if there is one that I know of at the start of a book. It's handy to put in their connections as well. Family and friends, having at least the names here can help keep track of the links to the important people in their life. Lastly, I'll put in anything else that I know of that might give them a reason for their actions. Next, I'll set up the heroines page in the same way, nested under books so that I can see the hero or heroes and the heroine's name at the same time. After that, I'll put in a page for the antagonist and format it so that it's easy to understand. Moving on, let's set up a page for the secondary characters. I start with a running list of known characters. This is just a list. I will get in depth on individual characters after I start the list. The list is mostly for easy search purposes, i.e., have I introduced this dude? If he's on the list, I have. In this list, I'll put those involved in the stories as they came into the stories. If there are important people that aren't involved up to this point, I'll need to make a list for that and go in depth for their involvement and why it's important. The next subtab is for something I've had to go back and do after having multiple books in a series written. It's for the friendships and relationships in the stories. If the friendships and what the friends are doing is important or brought up a lot, then you need to keep track of them. So note down those details. It might also be a good idea to keep a list of events happening between the friends. You could work up a simple timeline to help keep track of this. Now, let's go back to the main secondary page. We can do this on the page or make another subtab for it. This is for the detailed description of the important secondary characters. A paragraph or so of text with some description and the information you know about the character would go in this place. If you have many side characters, make sure they're spaced or it's formatted in a way so you can distinguish between them. The next tab we'll put on the workbook is the Plot tab. This is where you'd put the plot after you work it up. Underneath the Plot tab, we'll add a sub-tab for a brainstorming section. Here we can write down ideas or possible scenes before we finish the plot, or maybe we could use it if we're having trouble in the plot. I've had that. We'll add another sub-tab for important timeline events. I'll format this as a title or heading and right-click to rename. The point of this page is to help keep track of things, especially in a series or serial. It can get hard to remember who did what where. This can get tricky if you have stories that overlap. You need to know what's happening and who's involved. The next tab is for possible promo lines or tags. Honestly, this one usually sits empty until I'm revising or editing, but occasionally I'll write down a line that sounds like a good line for promo. The sub-tab is for ideas or graphics. These can be different for Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc. The next sub-tab won't be used until the book is ready for release. It's a checklist of what you plan to do or notes. I'll make another tab here, and this is the Notes tab. I put information I need to remember or am uncertain of about the book as I write it. The sub-tab is for what I need to do next. The following sub-tab is what I need to look out for. If there are overlapping events, this is where I'd probably put a note about that, just to make sure I don't miss it, because I usually check the notes section when I start writing. The next tab is the Edit and Revision notes. I write down everything I need to look for in the revision or edits so that I have a list I can look at and mark off. Okay, we'll put it in a main tab for the blurb. This is where I work on my blurb concepts, writing and rewriting versions of it. Let's add another tab for the cover. I'll write down concepts and ideas for cover arts, and sometimes even put in a sub-tab if I'm researching cover artists. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful.